very much an honor to meet you to start off with. But what my major question is, I don't understand the thinking that being on the offense means having 3,500 of our troops being killed in Iraq. And I don't get that way of thinking, that that's offense, when we're not accomplishing anything, and we know that.
Well, I would say just the opposite. I think we do know that we're accomplishing things. And I would not tell our troops in Iraq that they're not accomplishing anything. I think that's a terrible thing to do. Well, no, you got to let me finish the answer now. You asked the question. You got to let me finish the answer. You might not like the answer, but you got to let me finish it. I think it's a mistake, both substantively and emotionally, both, to tell our troops that they're accomplishing nothing in Iraq, and a very serious overstatement, and which I think comes from the large way in which the media covers it. I think they've accomplished a great deal in Iraq. Now let's look at what they've accomplished in Iraq. They deposed Saddam Hussein, who was a major pillar of support of Islamic terrorism, one of the people who helped to finance it and potentially could continue to finance it. I know in my efforts to destabilize organized crime that one of the most important things is to take away the economic support. So when removing Saddam Hussein, you took away one of the major economic supporters of Islamic terrorism. A major achievement. Not only that, a stunning achievement. It was done in record time by our military. So that's one of the things they achieved in Iraq. Secondly, the deposing of Saddam Hussein played a role in the surrender of Gaddafi, another major supporter of terrorism who had weapons of mass destruction, and we got him to surrender without the loss of American blood or American life. Another major achievement of the men and women who you say are accomplishing very little in Iraq. Third, the fact that they're engaging our enemy there, I believe, is helping to keep us safe here. I think if we had not done that, if we hadn't done Afghanistan and Iraq, there's no way of knowing, but we got to look at the results. Everybody on September 11th, September 12th, September 13th thought we'd be attacked many times after that. Not only did everybody think that, everybody told me that. And if you want, I'm not telling you any secret, George Tenet wrote that in his book that came out just a month or two ago. So have a number of other people. So that's public knowledge. If they hadn't made those sacrifices, I believe we'd be in much greater danger than we are. And, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I was reading the New York Times. I read it almost every morning. My wife says it's not good for me to do that. I think it is. It wakes me up. It gets me thinking quicker. These two experts working for the Brookings Institution have just gone to Iraq that you're asking me about. And they are not members of the Bush administration. They're not Republicans. As far as I can tell, they're liberals. And they were very critical of the strategy in Iraq. And they wrote this article in the New York Times that says, you might not believe this, and why wouldn't you believe it? Because of the media coverage, right? You might not believe this, but we just may win in Iraq. And then they pointed out the great success that the people who you think aren't accomplishing very much in Iraq, the great success they've had in Al-Anbar in solidifying it, calming it down, the success they're having in Baghdad in doing that. Now, okay, we can't guarantee that's going to continue. Neither could Abraham Lincoln in the midst of the Civil War. Neither could Franklin Roosevelt in the midst of the Second World War, or Dwight Eisenhower in the midst of the Cold War. But that wasn't the reason to run away in retreat. So I think you have to define what is success in Iraq. Success in Iraq is a stable Iraq that will act as an ally for us in the terrorist war against us. Because whatever happens in Iraq, the war on terror is going to continue. Not because we wanted to, because they wanted to. So you have to come out with stability in Iraq. And I would ask more often the soldiers who are there whether they think they're doing something positive, whether they think it's worth it to put their lives at risk. They're the best judge of that. I haven't found one who's given me the answer you gave, or the impression Well, I haven't. I haven't found one. And then the commanding general, General Petraeus, was asked that question a week ago on television. He was asked this question. I think this is a very, very good man. He was asked, when you have to report the loss of another American life, does it give you pause about the strategy that you're pursuing? The general said, yes, every single time I do it. And he said, I believe that's probably been true of every general who's a good person ever. And he said, every time I ask that question, I consult my thinking and my conscience and my sense of strategy, and the answer that I come to is, it's absolutely necessary. And when I come to a different conclusion, I'll report that immediately. And I think that's the reality of it. The loss of American life is dreadful. It's horrible. There is no way to make up for that loss for the families that are involved in it. That has been true in every struggle that we've been in. The only way you can make up for it is to help those families, embrace them, give them a sense of the reason for it. But if America is incapable of sustaining that, then America cannot prevail against the Islamic terrorists, because they are very capable of sustaining it. And that's been true with our implacable foes in the past. If America wasn't capable of dealing with the horrible losses in the Second World War of 450,000 American lives, America would never have been able to prevail over Hitler. If America wasn't able to deal with the losses we sustained in the Cold War, this would now be a Soviet world, not a world of freedom. So I know these things are difficult, but you've got to put them in perspective. And you've got to have a sense of resolve and courage also.